an incredible deal with China for tens of billions of dollars of product, $40 to $50 billion to the farmers. The most they ever spent was 15 to 16. Now they're supposed to spend 40 to 50. Now, of course, the virus came along, and I'm not happy. I'm not happy. I let them know I'm not happy. So, we had a great relationship we had a very bad relationship with China. Then we had a good relationship because we made a great deal. But we're not happy. This is not a good thing that happened. It came out of China, so we're not in a position where we're going to say much yet. But the deal itself is great. The deal it's going to put many, many people to work in our country, but all of that has to be taken into account when you look at all of the people that are dying in our country, but all over the world. All over the world, people are dying. I had a G7 call, and their economies are in tatters. They're shattered. The G7 countries. You have Japan and Germany and France. The different countries, Italy, look at what happened to Italy. Look at what happened to these countries. Look at what happened to Spain. Look what happened to Spain, how incredible. It's just been shattered. And so many other countries are shattered. So nobody ever thought this could have happened, a thing like this. It's very, very sad. But if we've learned something, it's about supply chains. I just saw it yesterday where when the auto industry gets back, they have a problem because there's a supply chain going through a different country. And this has been going on for years, for decades. I always said it was no good. Why do we make it? Why do you need a supply chain? Very simple, make your parts here. They get one part from this country, one part from that country. It's all over the place. The problem is if one country has a problem, you have no car or whatever it is you're making. So we've learned a good lesson. I think a lot of smart people knew that before. But we've distributed many hundreds of millions of masks. This pandemic has underscored the vital importance of reshoring our supply chains and bringing them back into the United States where they belong, where they should have never left. What happens if you're in a war and you have a supply chain where half of your supplies are given to you by other countries? Who are the people that thought of this? These are globalists. It doesn't work. It certainly doesn't work during rough times, bad times, or dangerous times. So we're going to continue to fight the virus. We're talking to China. We spoke to them a long time ago about going in. We want to go in. We want to see what's going on. And we weren't exactly invited, I can tell you that. If you look at some of the investigations that are going on in terms of World Health Organization, and I'll take it a step further, World Trade Organization too, World Trade. We did years ago, many years ago, the World Trade Organization, from the day China came in, that's when China bloomed. They were mainlining it, and then boom, they were up like a rocket ship because they took advantage of every little ridiculous clause in the World Trade Organization documents. They were a developing nation. China was a developing nation. They make the cars, they make the plant, they make everything. And they're a developing nation. So we've had, I might have gotten elected to a certain extent because of China and other countries. One of my big things was trade. The United States is getting ripped off in trade. Now Japan is paying $40 billion and buying a lot. That's before we even do the deal. U.S.-Mexico was a great deal. The NAFTA was one of the worst deals ever made in trade history. And I would also put the World Trade Organization in that same group. So I was very tough on these countries. With China, we made the deal, and we became friendly. But then this happened, and this is tantamount. This is something that's really incredible. I do want to read the something that I just saw today on television. I was looking, and I just said, "That's an interesting statement." We talk about the Democrats, and it was a statement made by Bret Baier, good guy, smart. On February 19th, there was a Democratic debate in Las Vegas. That was February 19th. That's way after I closed entrance from China into our country. So, Brett goes, on February 19th, there was a Democratic debate in Las Vegas. 3 words weren't said during the debate: virus, coronavirus, or COVID-19. Those 3 words never came up. That was, I just thought it was a very interesting, because, you hear these people, some of the people, the Democrats said, oh, this, that. It never even was a part of their dialogue. Now they bring it up because you see what happened, so now, but they didn't bring it up. But I brought it up. I brought it up a long time before I made the trade deal, and I was not easy to deal with. They understand that. We still have 25% on $250 billion that they have to pay us. And it's a lot of money. We've taken in a lot of money, and we've had a lot of beneficiaries, including our farmers and ranchers. So in addition, we've launched an unprecedented effort to develop new treatments and therapies to battle the plague. Therapies to me are the most exciting. The vaccines are obviously so important, but the therapies are immediate, and we have some things that are really looking good. We call COVID Treatment Acceleration Program. We're accelerating all of these great companies that are looking, and we have government agencies looking too, NIH. This extraordinary program is slashing red tape to speed and development, anti-rival, and if you look at what we're doing in terms of the speed, it's unrivaled. It's totally unrivaled. There's never been anything like it. The FDA and Dr. Stephen Hahn, a highly respected man from a great institution, left that job to come here. The job he's doing is incredible. And we're working with Scott, his predecessor is terrific. We're working with a lot of people, but the speed of development for antiviral, antibody, and immune therapies is at a level that nobody thought even possible. And I will say this, we're getting very good results. It's a little soon yet, but if we could find the therapies that would solve the problem, if somebody has a problem, we can get it taken care of so it's not so devastating as it has been. With that, I'm going to ask Vice President Pence to come up, and I have to say it's a Sunday evening, and this man has not stopped. He's working. We all are, in all fairness, but he's been working with his task force and everyone else round the clock for months, and I just want to thank Mike. Thank you, Mike.
Thank you, Mr. President. And let me echo your words about all the dedicated men and women on the White House Coronavirus Task Force, and the team that you assembled in January, and some of whom are with us today: Seema Verma with CMS, Admiral Giroir with the U.S. Public Health Service, Dr. Steve Hahn of the FDA, and others represent a level of commitment and dedication that's been inspiring for me to have the privilege to work with. And so I thank you for your gracious words. That White House Coronavirus Task Force met today. It was reported to us that at this moment, more than 746,000 Americans have tested positive for the coronavirus. Unfortunately, more than 68,000 Americans have fully recovered, but sadly, more than 41,000 Americans have lost their lives to the coronavirus. And we always want to express our deepest sympathies to the families in their loss, as well as to all the families who have loved ones that are struggling with this disease. Today, we've seen encouraging news again about our progress as a nation. President Trump reflected on those momentarily, but the Coronavirus White House Task Force today learned that our large metro areas continue to stabilize and even see progress. The New York metro area, including New Jersey, New York, Long Island, Connecticut, and Rhode Island, all appear to be past their peak. The Detroit metro area also appears to be past its peak and is stable. New Orleans metro area actually is the most stable of all areas where we had a major metropolitan outbreak. And the Denver metro area is stable. We're dealing in Colorado with a meatpacking plant issue. And of course, California and Washington remain low and steady. Areas that we continue to watch carefully on the task force include the Chicago metro area, Boston metro, and the Philadelphia metropolitan area. The progress that we are making is a tribute to the American people. It's a tribute to state and local leaders in all of these areas and the partnership that our president has forged. But we just want to encourage every American as we see this progress to continue to heed your state and local authorities. I think the American people know no one wants to reopen America more than President Donald Trump. But I want to assure you, we're going to continue to work with governors of every state, with the president's guidelines for opening up America again, and we're going to work in a way that we can consolidate the progress that we have made and help move our states toward reopening our country. We also received a report today, and the Coronavirus Task Force, at this point, 5,528 military personnel have been deployed across 24 hospitals and facilities, and 28,700 National Guard are on duty. On the subject of supplies, the President spoke about this at length, but at the present moment, we have more than 9,055 ventilators on hand. We actually added 91 ventilators to that supply because of the production that the President and our task force at FEMA has activated. In the next 7 days, we'll be adding 576 ventilators to the strategic national stockpile. As the President mentioned, our air bridge continues to work, 64 flights completed, 50 more flights on the horizon, literally bringing in medical equipment from around the country and around the world and deploying it to critical areas. Finally, tomorrow, as the President announced, we'll be hosting a conference call with all of the nation's governors, all the states and territories from the headquarters at FEMA. And we'll be working with the governors to ensure them that we're helping them to review and evaluate the President's guidelines for opening up America again, the criteria that we believe is appropriate and necessary before states can move into any phase one change in the mitigation strategies, but also at the President's direction tomorrow. We'll be providing all the nation's governors and all of their health officials with detail about the testing infrastructure that exists all around the country. We'll be specifically providing governors and state health officials with information about all of the lab capability that exists in their states, and also we'll be updating them on our efforts to identify the kind of supplies the President just held up, and our efforts to make sure that those supplies are at all of those